Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 21. I'm your host, Joe Baress, along with my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, how we doing?
We're doing quite well, Joe. We're enduring this frigid winter. My goodness gracious.
It's cold.
I went out today and, it was below 10 degrees, which makes it extremely difficult to just function.
Sure.
And apparently we're getting hit with a snowstorm coming this weekend, Joe. So I hope you have your shovel ready and plenty of layers that you can be prepared to shovel yourself out later on this week.
Right. Joby, of course we're having a snowstorm. We're getting killed this winter. How are you holding up there, up in your neck of the woods?
Well, I had to do the snow thrower on Saturday. Mostly everybody else was okay, but I had to get out there and take care of the driveway. And then I suffered through the agony of being an NFL fan of a team that is still alive.
That is phenomenal, Joby, by the way.
Well, listen, the Los Angeles Rams are doing everything they can to put me into some sort of cardiac arrest each and every weekend. And I must say that Sunday just it pushed me to no end. But I was happy that a 270-pound kicker was able to boot one through in sub-freezing temperatures in Chicago and to bail out what was easily one of the worst defensive plays I've ever seen in my 40-plus years of being a fan of football.
Joby, don't you love when you have the game in hand, your team absolutely blows it, and then they come back and win anyway? It's just like, what was, why did you put me through that?
Well, the truth of the matter is, Joe, and full disclosure, as you and I are discussing it here, I had been in quite a lively group text message that I stayed silent for throughout the majority of the game. And when Caleb Williams fired up what was clearly a prayer.
Yep.
And it landed right in Cole Comets' hands.
Yeah.
For a touchdown. My text was, I wish they would just go for two so this could end for me. But thankfully, Ben Johnson kicked the extra point and Caleb Williams returned to form and threw a pick late in the overtime. And somehow Matthew Stafford bailed us out. He and Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua.
Yep.
And the Rams live to fight another day, Joe, but that's going to make it very, very difficult this weekend for me to concentrate. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was going to say to give you a little more anxiety next weekend, so that's wonderful.
One more week, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, as we always are, we are joined by our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Jordan Shaffer of Abington Heights basketball. Jordan, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good.
Jordan, you're doing much better than I was doing last week. That's for sure.
Well, right off the top here, poor Jordan's a Cincinnati Bengals fan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. If I recall, you and I had quite a conversation last year on the Super Bowl victory the Rams had over the Bengals.
Yes, we did. I do recall that.
So, hey, just to let everyone know what Jordan did last week, he had 35 points and 10 rebounds and 4 blocks in Abington Heights, 84-61 victory over Scranton Prep, which was the number 1 team in the Times-Tribune top 10 poll at the time. He also had 20 points, 11 rebounds in the Comets, 60-56 victory over, again, Valley View number 4 at the time. He also has 989 points in his career. Jordan, the one thing I want to ask you about last week, obviously two big games. What is it like trying to refocus in between games, coming up with such a big win against Scranton Prep, and then refocusing to play another big game against Valley View?
I mean, it was definitely a challenge. You come off a game like Tuesday where emotions are high, adrenaline was high, and then you come in and you got to come in and put in the work for 2 days of practice to prepare for a great team in Valley View. And really the thing that kept all of us grounded was the fact that we only have a 1-game lead. So any loss in the league just disqualifies anything we've done in the past. So we understand that that every game is a playoff game. Every game is a must win, no matter who we play. So
Jordan, I want to be kind of basic before I get into the details from last week, because I was at both of your games at Abington Heights High School. But this is year 2 with J.C. Shaw as the head basketball coach there. You've been there with him every step of the way. Kind of tell me of how your relationship with him and his relationship with the team has really grown and developed, because I saw a lot of confidence in this group, especially when you were challenged by Valley View on Friday last week.
yeah, I would say the biggest thing is, everybody that's getting minutes this year are returners, whether it's on the varsity team or the JV team last year. We've been with coach. Every single one of us has been with coach for 2 years now. So the trust that he has in us and that we have in him is definitely just growing exponentially as the season goes on. And so the confidence that he has in us has spread throughout the team. And every single one of us has faith that no matter who's in the game, they can get the job done and do what we ask.
Absolutely. And, we talked about a couple days ago how, you've got a bunch of seniors on the team, senior starting lineup. Is there a teammate this season that has impressed you the most, maybe with their improvement, or, who is a teammate that's impressed you the most this season?
I'm going to have 2 guys that I'm going to bring up. Number 1 is Chris Begley. He's a senior. He started the beginning of the year for us last year. We got off to a rough start. He stopped playing as much as he did. And this year he just came, and coach talks all the time about being a star in your role. And he really embraced that this year. He's one of the best leaders we have on the team. He plays harder than anyone else on the floor. And as a 5'8" guard, he's coming away with a lot of the times the second or third most rebounds on our team. He definitely leads our team in steals, if I were to guess. And the effort that he puts forth every game really inspires the rest of us to play hard. And then the second guy I want to shout out is Cooper Manning, is a sophomore for us that didn't get really, he was on the varsity team last year, didn't really get any time, didn't get as much as he wanted to. And that continued into the beginning of this year where he's a great player, but just didn't see time on the floor as much as he would have hoped. And then when his name got called, he answered, and he is now starting for us as the only non-senior starter for us. And he's really opened up our offense with his ability to score the ball, to shoot the ball, and consistently make the right play on offense. Has really opened up the offense for me, Kettle, Finn Goldberg, and these other guys that like to get downhill and score.
So, Jordan, let's talk a little bit about the intensity and the atmosphere you and your teammates played in when you faced your bitter rival, Scranton Prep, last Tuesday. It was a very exciting basketball game where I thought you and your teammates really played with a great deal of focus and determination. But what is it about that rivalry that brings out the best in team players from both teams, and the end result is a pretty competitive and exciting game?
The energy and the experience of that game is nothing you could replicate in practice or in another game. As much as you want to think about it as just another game on the schedule, it is different and it feels different. So when you're out there competing against those guys, everybody, it just comes down to the type of work that you've put in the past. And between those two teams, I would say the 2 hardest working teams with oftentimes the best basketball players. So when you have just guys competing as hard as they can, and they're the best basketball players out there, it turns into a great game.
Absolutely. Jordan, obviously you guys played a difficult non-conference schedule, and I think the record obviously is a little deceiving for you guys this season. How much did those early non-conference games help you at this point in the season?
Oh, absolutely. They were huge. We played a bunch of teams from Philly, Allentown, and even Dallas was a great test really early in the year. And they really prepared us for the type of speed, size, and pressure we're going to have to face against teams like Prep or Valley View or later in the year when we get to playoffs. Prep is obviously a team that likes to play fast, likes to push the ball, likes to press 94 feet. So playing a tough non-conference schedule against a bunch of Philly schools prepares us because we've seen that type of pressure before. So when we saw it against Prep and we're game planning for it against Prep, it wasn't anything we haven't seen. We knew what guys would be best in certain situations, and so when the time came, we had the right guys and we had the right amount of focus and the right mentality to get the job done.
So, Jordan, your role has been a little bit different, and it certainly has evolved from when you were back as a sophomore as a real important piece to what was a fantastic Abington Heights boys basketball team. You have become and developed into a big time leader, but I've noticed, and maybe I'm overstepping my bounds here, but you've become a little bit, more in tune with the inside game. You're using your size and your height to your advantage. And I thought you did a great job against Valley View when you were missing a couple of outside shots to bring your game inside the lane. Tell me about the adjustments you made and have made and seen your game grow in your senior year here.
I mean, the biggest thing I've always wanted to improve on from my freshman and sophomore year was to get bigger and stronger physically so that I could battle inside underneath and then use my size, my height to my advantage. So going into last year, you started to see it a little bit. And this year I've really embraced that aspect of the offensive end. Scoring the ball in the paint, like that opens up the 3-point shot for a guy like me. It makes it hard for other teams to face guard and take away the 3-pointer. And the closer you are to the basket, the easier it is to make. So it's really made it easy for me to add a couple points on the board for the team and for myself. So
absolutely. Jordan, tonight, obviously you have West Scranton, and I guess you'll also be going for 1,000 points. I think you're 11 points away, if I am correct. How does a milestone like that, hanging in the background, does that affect you? How do you think about tonight's game?
Obviously, the number one goal tonight is to win the game. That's the number one goal, no matter who we're playing, no matter what the circumstances are. The number one goal is to win. But to be completely honest, I would be lying if I said it wasn't in the back of my mind that I was 11 points away from 1,000. I mean, that's something you dream of from the time you play bitty basketball. But ultimately, none of that will matter one bit if we don't win the game tonight.
So, Jordan, this team has really come together, and we already talked about the non-conference schedule. People kind of get deceived sometimes when they see that the 5 losses there, you're unbeaten in Division I. But this is an extremely competitive division, and I think you'll agree West Scranton is a much improved basketball team this year as well. So this is going to be tough to navigate in the second half of the season. What are you and your teammates going to have to continue to do to maintain this level of success and continue to work toward what's going to be a very competitive second half of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to how you were saying, talking about West Scranton, I want to give them a lot of credit. We've watched a lot of film on them over the past 2 days, and the improvement that I have seen over them over the past 2 years with new Coach Dixon, they are a great team that nobody should think less of when they see them on their schedule. But I will say the tough league schedule has prepared us for what we're going to face. So using that to when we get into the second half, knowing that we have played teams and been in situations of difficulty and that we could overcome it and we know how to overcome it is the biggest thing.
Absolutely. Jordan, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but my favorite thing about your Athlete of the Week interview was when I asked you if you have any superstitions. Could you tell everyone what your present superstition is right now before a game?
We have I'll preface it with, we have an assistant coach, Coach Morris, knew that I was a huge fan of Kraft mac and cheese. So he got me before we played Scranton High, he got me a box of Mario Kart mac and cheese. Mario Kart Kraft mac and cheese. And I think I had like 27 points, like 16 rebounds in that game. And so ever since then, right before I leave for the bus before the game, I make sure I make myself some Mario Kart mac and cheese. And that's my superstition right now.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
That's listen, Kraft Mac, you can't beat Kraft mac and cheese, man. You can't.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So Jordan, listen, you've had a great career at Abington Heights. Let's talk a little bit about what the future may hold for Jordan Shaffer, as you want to keep your eye on the regular season, obviously, but being a senior, there's always that what's ahead. So tell everybody what you're planning on when everything is said and done here during the course of the end of your senior year.
I'm planning on going to college, plan on playing in college, and I've been blessed with opportunities for that to be the case. So as the season starts to wrap up, I want to stay focused on the season as it is right now, make sure that I get done everything I want to get done with my last high school season. But I'm going to start to narrow down the options and hopefully make a decision as the season starts to wind down.
I know you've had some college coaches at your games recently, so that's certainly a bright spot. The recruiting has changed a little bit, don't you think, though, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. With the transfer portal and the ability to transfer up and transfer down, it's made it difficult, especially for high school athletes to get recruited. But any opportunity to play basketball any further after high school is a blessing. So
Absolutely. Let me follow up on that a little bit. You know, what is it kind of like, Jordan? Like, do you have to send stuff to schools that you want to go to? Do they contact you? Like, what's kind of the process of that?
If you can play, they'll find you. But a lot of the time, you do have to create your own recruiting. You got to reach out to coaches, make sure you have a highlight tape that looks good. Make sure that you're connecting with coaches on a consistent basis and that they know who you are and that they know that you are interested in them and that you hope that they reciprocate that.
Yeah, it's certainly a much different procedure than what many high school athletes are used to, but I'm sure you and your family will handle it well and you'll maintain your focus and you're going to have great future ahead of you. Now, Jordan, I just want to thank you for helping me out last week. You were great after the games and helping with videos and everything else. And I thought you guys played great. I'm really happy that the season has gone well, and I want to wish you the very best of luck and congratulations on being our athlete of the week this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. Thanks so much for joining us, especially on game day, man. Thanks for joining us, and go have that mac and cheese, all right?
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. All right. That was our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Jordan Shaffer of Abington Heights basketball. Joby, you got to witness it. You know, Abington Heights had a really, really nice week. Obviously, Jordan had a great week. That team has really, really come together, like you said, under the leadership of J.C. Shao.
Yeah, Joe, you know, I was interested to see Abington Heights live and in person early on in the season. The schedule had them doing a lot of traveling, if you remember, and to these invitationals and to these very competitive non-league games. Something that I know that Coach Ken Bianchi in his final couple of years when he was trying to prepare the team for a state playoff run did to amp up that non-league schedule. And J.C. Shaw's kind of taken the baton and run with it as well. And, you know, Abington Heights suffered some losses during that and still trying to, it was at the time still was kind of looking for what kind of character this team had. Right.
Yeah.
So they've really come together. They had a great week last week. You know, both games were at home, so they were very electric atmospheres at the Abington Heights Gymnasium. You know, they have that great video board there that the sponsors help pay for, and it's really a neat setting for high school basketball. And I thought Jordan Shaffer and Andrew Kettle, really as leaders of this team, played exceptional basketball last week. But I was very happy to hear that Jordan Shaffer acknowledged Chris Begley, who was magnificent at the end of the Valley View game where he had 2 steals on 2 consecutive possessions and then made 3 of his 4 free throws. I think he was only 2 of 4 on the season to that point. And, you know, in that setting and in that moment, He was clutch. And Joe, that's what it takes when you want to be successful in Division I for sure, is you need contributions from guys who maybe aren't necessarily the leading scorers or rebounders or assist guys, but guys who come in off the bench and chip in. Last week, Gavin Corwin came off the bench and gave Abington Heights valuable minutes. I mean, it was a really, really a total team effort. And I was really impressed with Abington Heights and what J.C. Shaw's been able to do there in his 2 seasons.
Absolutely. Joby, Chris Begley seems like a player I'd really like.
Yeah, Joe, he's fiery.
Yeah.
He's intense.
Yeah.
What I really liked about him, though, after his first on Tuesday against Scranton Prep, where I thought he made some real key plays, as Jordan pointed out, he's only 5'7".
Yep.
And it's not often you see a kid that height. I think he had 11 rebounds against Scranton Prep. Now, again, Scranton Prep plays basketball a little bit differently than a lot of teams, shooting a lot of deep threes or mid-range jumpers, and those rebounds tend to come rocketing out of there. And he collected them, and he had a great game. And then he was a little nervous to talk to me after the game. And then on Friday, when he had those 2 great steals late in the game, and then the clutch free throws, as I mentioned, I said, "Okay, Chris, can you handle a video interview for social media?" And he was a little nervous again, but he was certainly. It's just something about a kid from Abington Heights where he just kind of, when I said go, he was fine. He was calm, cool, and collected, and he was very seasoned. And I thought he gave a really genuine answer. And he's the kind of guy you do need to have on your team if you want to have success long term in basketball, because you brought it up, Joe, and I thought it was a great point. Basketball is different than football. These are the kind of the marquee sports, right?
Right.
And football, you get a week to recover, refocus, heal up. Basketball, Abington Heights went from playing a very big, important game against Scranton Prep and having 2 days later to play Valley View, which is, a top 4 team. So it is a challenge mentally and physically for these kids. In addition, let's not kid ourselves. They have to go to school in between, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So it was a tough week last week. And I will be interested to see, Joe, as we move into the second half of the season later on this week. We're going to be shifting to a Monday-Thursday schedule for the boys basketball, which is different.
Right.
For boys. They're not used to that, right? They've gone Tuesday, Friday in the first half of the schedule. And now the big thing is for Abington Heights in particular, big advantage playing those 2 games, Scranton Prep and Valley View, on home court.
Yeah.
So that shifts in the second half. So they'll play those back-to-back games between them and Scranton Prep and Valley View on the road. So that'll also be a factor. But I'm looking forward to it, Joe. There's some great basketball ahead of us as the boys basketball beat writer. Even tonight, we've got Dunmore hosting Old Forge. And these are 2 teams, I think, that just have a lot of abundance of talent.
Yeah.
And Dunmore, of course, 13-1, number 1 ranked team this week. Old Forge, 10-3. The losses for Old Forge, if you go back and look, Wilkes-Barre area, which is a Class 6A team, the 4-point loss to Valley View, which we now know is a fantastic basketball team, and then a loss last week in a huge Triborough rivalry game against number 2 Riverside. So that's a pretty good resume if you're Old Forge.
Without a doubt. Joby, let's go over that top 10. Obviously, you just said Dunmore took over the top spot. They are 13-1.
Joe, 97 points they scored last week against Honesdale. That's the season high for them, only because they scored 96 against Holy Cross in the Urina tournament. But,
right.
Joe, this is a team, Dunmore, four players averaging in double figures. They can beat you inside with Braden Canavan. They can beat you outside with the outside shooting of all 4 of those players: Carter Slode, Canavan, Jimmy Clark, Native Vilez. I mean, this is a really talented team. Jay Costanzo comes off, is a starter there. He's the physical guy, football player type that you sometimes see at the Dunmore basketball. They need to have that physicality, and he brings that. This is a very intense, experienced, and determined basketball team.
Absolutely. And Joby, you mentioned it, but Riverside is number 2, probably because of that win over Old Forge, where Nico Antonacci scored 40 points. He also reached 1,000 career points last week as well.
No, he's only a sophomore for those not keeping track at home.
Exactly. So 1,000 points and counting.
So he's averaging 31 points a game this year, Joe.
Yeah.
Which is mind-numbing when you think about it. And so if Riverside were to, let's just say the season were to just be regular for Riverside, which it's not going to be. Clearly, you're going to play some postseason games, right? So 22 games, 30 points, that's a lot of points.
Oh, yeah.
You can do the math yourself, Joe. That's 600 plus, right?
Exactly.
So then he's going to probably play another 10 games after that, maybe?
Yep.
9 games, 8 games. So he's having one of those real memorable seasons. And Joe, the comparisons inevitably are going to continue to pop up as much as he's going to try to have to deflect the attention the best that he can. These are the types of things that happen when you're playing at a level that he is at as early as he is in his career. But we all remember the great impact and the attention and the tour buses that followed Jerry McNamara through what was an incredible 4 seasons at Bishop Hannon. I think we're starting to, if not, we're already at that point where Nico Antonacci is drawing that same outside of the Riverside community attention from basketball fans across Northeast Pennsylvania, and he certainly has earned it.
Absolutely, Joby. Abington Heights jumps up to number 3. They were number 6 last week, obviously after their big week. Scranton Prep is 4th, Valley View 5th, Old Forge 6th, Elk Lake 7, Delaware Valley 8, Holy Cross 9, and Susquehanna 10.
So really quickly, Joe, Elk Lake beat Susquehanna in that big Division III game last week.
Right.
So funny, too, that Chase Pond and John Heitzman, the 2 leaders of Elk Lake in the biggest game of their season to this point, both scored 23 points in the game. That's the kind of consistency that Coach John Warnero wants to see out of his Elk Lake starting lineup. So that's a really important group of kids up there to keep an eye on in the second half of the year, Joe. And here's why. Elk Lake is going to play in Division III, which they have superior talent. Now, whether they finish out unbeaten is a whole nother ballgame, but they've already beaten the Lackawanna Trail and Susquehanna, the 2 teams right behind them in the standings. And they've got a very talented team. They're also 13-1 overall. What people sometimes forget is, and I'm going to have a breakdown of this pretty shortly coming up here in the Times-Tribune, Elk Lake is part of this group. I hate to use this phrase, Joe, but I'm going to do it anyway. Group of 4 in the District 2 Class 3A playoff standings. So you've got Dunmore at 13-1, Riverside at 13-1, Elk Lake at 13-1, and then you've got your alma mater, Holy Cross, 7-7, and people are, the sky is falling in the Holy Cross camp.
Yeah.
But junior shooting guard Adam Bedurka made his return last week and immediately scores 19 points in his first game back after a 10-game layoff with an injury. So he's going to infuse quite a bit of offense into that lineup for Holy Cross. And it's going to be a factor moving forward in that Division II for the second half race and in that District 2 Class 3A playoff shuffle. So, and it behooves you, Joe, to get to the final in Class 3A because only 2 teams are going to the state playoffs.
Exactly, Joby. Exactly. So a lot of big games and big stuff coming up in preparation for the postseason. We are recording this on a Tuesday. I'm not sure if I mentioned that yet. It is presently 3:34. Joby will be going out to the Dunmore Old Forge game, as he had mentioned. So, be sure to, if you're listening to this Tuesday night, be sure to go to our website for recaps of all the games and Joby's game story. Moving on to the girls' top 10, which is getting increasingly more difficult to vote on from week to week. Just because, the teams, especially in Division I, just kind of keep beating each other.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, Joe. We're going to have that round robin,
right?
With that top 6 teams, or that are in Division I that are in the rankings.
Right.
They all still have to play head to head at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that does cause a headache for you on the voting every
Sure, for all of us. Yeah. So right now we have North Pocono at the top of the rankings. We got Scranton Prep at 2, Dunmore at 3. Obviously, Dunmore beat Honesdale last week for their 100th straight division win. And
that's just an incredible number, Joe.
Isn't it insane? Exactly.
Well, it's 7 straight unbeaten seasons in the league, right?
Right.
That would give you the one of the numbers that you have to think about. And working on year 8. Joe, think about that in terms of your age. You were a young man when this started.
It's true. It's true. It's pretty crazy, seriously. It just speaks to how good that Dunmore program has been and continues to be.
2 great coaches during that legacy.
Yeah.
So Ben O'Brien, who also reached a milestone as the University of Scranton women's head basketball coach last week, if I may just derail myself a little bit here. He got his 100th win, right, with the Lady Royals. And Carrie Toomey, who has just carried on from what Ben was able to build there in his time. And, this Dunmore girls basketball program, I often go back to when head coach Carrie Toomey was Carrie Bowen when I was in school. She's around I want to say she graduated a year after me. She was a fantastic player then for Ross Machaco, and I want to say she was a 2 or 3 time all-region player. She was intense. She was a really talented player, and I know she takes a lot of pride in that program. And Joe, the banner, if you ever go in the gym, and I'll be there later this afternoon or this evening, like you said, the championship banner for Dunmore girls basketball is just extensive.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm with the state championship to boot, but
right.
Just in an incredible number, 100 straight division wins. It's just mind-boggling.
The other mind-boggling thing, Joby, it's like, Ben O'Brien reaching 100 wins is enough. But then I was just like, well, how many games has he been there?
What's like 115?
He's 106.
Yeah, that's incredible.
6. That just speaks to it. And I feel like at some point we'll have to have our coworker Scotty Walsh on this podcast to talk a little bit about how well the University of Scranton women are doing, as you had mentioned, a number 2 team in the nation with some local girls. Obviously, Sophia Toludo from Dunmore, Casey Cranston, graduate of Holy Cross, Kaylee Romanowski, Western Wayne graduate. So just like you said, very, very, very impressive, coming out from Dunmore. So we also have Abington Heights is number 4. Valley View is presently number 5, although they lost to Scranton, who was ranked 6th at the moment. They lost to Scranton last night. And again, that speaks to, how good and kind of evenly matched that division is. Anybody could win on any given night. Honesdale's at 7, Mountain View at 8, with Addison Kilmer, I believe, scoring 36 points last night.
Yeah, nice off night for her.
Yeah, exactly. We got Delaware Valley at 9 and Riverside at 10. And Joby, as you had mentioned, as the boys' schedule will flip, obviously the girls will as well, to a Tuesday, Friday schedule. So the next slate will be Friday for girls basketball.
Right. So last night wrapped up the first half, last night being Monday, the first half of the play in Lackawanna League girls basketball. They'll begin the second half on Friday. Joe, I wanted to point out, you mentioned Scranton had a big win over Valley View yesterday, and Chrissy Jacklinski had a terrific performance, 22 points. Riley Bell, who's really one of the unsung players in Division I because she plays alongside Chrissy Jacklinski. But Scranton is one of those teams you have to keep an eye on for the second half of the season, and here's why. This is a team that's still trying to figure it out, has 3 terrific players, And Coach P.J. Hughes played an extremely difficult non-league schedule. Now, in anticipation of, having Zaya Small on the team, Scranton really front-loaded its non-league schedule and put some really challenging games. Now, Zaya Small has transferred since then to a school, to Friends Central down in Philadelphia. So it took some time for Scranton to come around. But if you look back, Joe, when you have a player the caliber of Chrissy Jacklinski, you're going to be in just about every game. And Scranton has done that and now has worked its way back to what I think 7-8 overall.
Right.
Line it tournament champions.
Yep.
And so Scranton certainly has that kind of a winning mentality that could serve it well in the second half of the season in Division I. You mentioned Abington Heights had a big bounce back win last week as well. And this Division I is extremely tough, top to bottom. And you're going to have to we're going to see some things happen here as the wheels go in motion for the second half of the schedule. But the one thing that does travel, as you know, Joe, is the defensive intensity that North Pocono coach Joe Ferguson demands of his group there at number 1 North Pocono. So we'll see how that translates with some of the high scoring teams in Division I in the second half.
Absolutely, Joby. All right, I think that probably wraps up our basketball coverage for now. Anything else you want to add, Joby?
Just real quick, Joe. Addison Kilmer, you mentioned 36 points on Monday night. So Addison Kilmer's had about 3 or 4 40-point games this year, and she has jettisoned herself past 1,900 for her career. So she's going to be closing in on that 2,000-point mark in her career. What an incredible 4 years we've been privileged to witness, to see the success and excitement for the sport of girls basketball that she has brought to the tiny school of Mountain View up there in Susquehanna County. And I know the fans there are real proud of her, and she has certainly done a great deal for the entire community there in Mountain View. Remember, Joe, semifinals in the state basketball playoffs two times, went to the state championship game once. She is a terrific girls basketball player.
Absolutely, Joby. I'm glad you brought that up. I was wondering where she was point total wise, honestly. And that also reminds me that we did have another girls basketball milestone last week. Abigail Gellinger of Blue Ridge, she surpassed 1,000 career points in a couple wins last week. So congratulations to her as well.
Joe, two players there in girls basketball who I'm extremely familiar with their work, because both are also all-region girls volleyball players. So I'm very happy for both of those athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joby, I found out 2 days ago that Jordan Shaffer might try out volleyball. I think that would work out well for him.
Just 6'4", that helps. And Abington Heights is going to be a terrific team again.
Exactly. So, all right, I'm going to pivot a little bit to wrestling. And, first of all, Joby, I appreciate, obviously, we cherish our time with our families, and I traveled to Penn State with my father last Wednesday to see them play UCLA, my dad's favorite basketball team growing up. Just so happened to be a wrestling night. So, Joby, I thank you for handling a lot of it. I know that I was forwarding you emails and you were answering back right away. So Joby, I greatly appreciate that. It was a huge help and kind of lifted a burden off me so I could spend time with my dad. So
I'm glad you were able to do that, Joe. And those times are very precious at this point of our lives. So I'm glad you got to enjoy it. And Joe, listen, that was the least I could do for you. We have some great wrestling talent. Now, I have an extremely difficult time understanding what the heck I'm putting in. I haven't seen a wrestling match live in a couple of years. I think the last one I saw, this will put you in a spin, was probably a dual meet. Was probably about 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it's been a long time. Now, remember, Joe, I cover swimming and boys and girls swimming as well in the winter. So I have to give, you your attention here, and you do a great job of keeping everybody up to date. You've got some great champions every weekend at these invitationals that you have to keep track of. It's nonstop for you, Joe.
Absolutely, Joby. And I want to start with, obviously, the big match on Wednesday was Abington Heights against Wallenpaupack, both undefeated at the time. And Abington Heights went in there and honestly dominated this match. It really shows, again, that we spoke about this last week, but again, that veteran talent getting better, and also the younger talent and the young freshmen just molding right into the team. Credit to Coach Greg Taoni, and especially those kids for really coming together. Obviously, they're in youth programs, so they know each other and everything, but this is a team that's looking really, really good. And to beat Wallenpaupack 50-17 means something. So they're looking to capture a league title. They're few years removed, not too many years. I want to say 3 or 4 from winning their last league title. So they are going to face Delaware Valley on Wednesday to try to capture that league title and undefeated league season and push ahead into these team dual championships, which will start the following Wednesday. So right now, as it stands in Class 3A, according to the power rankings, Wallenpaupack is still the number 1 seed in the Class 3A bracket. Abington Heights is number 4 at the moment. I write about it every year, and I don't understand these power rankings, Joby, a lot of the time, to be frank, but that is what they are. So we've got Hazleton at number 2, and we've got Wilkes-Barre at number 3. Again, Wilkes-Barre has a win over Hazleton, I believe. So we're going to see how that's going to shake out. Pittston area is at number 5. Delaware Valley is at number 6. North Pocono is in 7th. Crestwood 8. West Scranton 9th on the outside looking in at the moment. Valley West 10. Nanticoke 11 and Scranton 12. So again, we don't have many dual meets left, but some have one on Wednesday, like Abington Heights, and some have several because they're going to be at a dual tournament coming over this weekend. So we'll see how that shakes out. Obviously, in Class 2A, Honesdale continues to roll. They are the top seed and should be by quite a wide margin. Duke Martin got his 100th career victory. Congratulations to him. He's a phenomenal wrestler. And Honesdale's closing in on the Division II title as well. They face Valley View on Wednesday to try to lock that up. Hanover area is ranked 2nd in the power ratings. They're a solid team. They should probably be locked into that 2nd seed. They actually faced Honesdale this year, and Honesdale beat them. We've got Tunkhannock at 3, Blue Ridge at 4. This is pretty impressive for a Blue Ridge team. They've been very, very good under the direction of Charlie Church, and they just have a lot of talent there. They're doing excellent in Division III, and this is just a very good team that has really shown that they can step up and beat some of these bigger teams. We've got Valley View at 5, Mid Valley at 6, obviously still playing wrestling an independent schedule. We got Berwick at 7, Montrose at 8, Scranton Prep at 9, Wyoming area 10, Western Wayne 11, Dallas 12, Lehman 13, Lackawanna Trail 14, Elk Lake 15, Mountain View 16. Now, when it comes to Division III, last year we had this same showdown on the last day of the league season, and it'll happen again. Scranton Prep will travel to Blue Ridge for essentially a Division III title match. As I mentioned, Blue Ridge has been really tough. They were excellent last year in capturing the Division III title. It's going to be a tough match for Scranton Prep, but that's definitely a match of interest to see how it plays out against 2 undefeated teams in Division III. So we're closing in here. I know we always talk about the postseason getting there, and for wrestling, the postseason is going to be starting in 8 days. So
yeah, you better get your rest while you can.
I know, seriously. So
no more personal days and trips to Penn State or Syracuse for you.
I got to stop this, right? I know. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand at wrestling. Obviously, I think the big takeaway from last week was Abington Heights kind of showing, what they were against the defending league and District 2 champion Buckhorns. So we'll see how it shakes out as far as the power ratings and the seedings. The top 2 seeds will be one from the Lackawanna League and one from the Wyoming Valley Conference. So they will be the hosts for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the top seed, highest seed will be will host the final. So they're no longer at Pittston area, both at Pittston area. So yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. Other than that, Joby, is there anything you need to discuss as far as your other beat with swimming?
Well, we had the Ernie Shartle Invitational up at Tunkhannock.
Right.
Great performances, Joe. Scranton Prep swimmers, Ava Kashuba, Rebecca Oakes, just outstanding weekend for them. And Lucas Iannone had a record-setting performance. These swimmers from Abington Heights, Jason Casper, Derek Williams, a couple of relay teams had some school records and meet record performances as well. Abington Heights and Elk Lake. Joe, I foresee, we have still the regular season to conclude in swimming in the Lackawanna League. We've got 3 undefeated programs in both boys and girls. Scranton Prep, Abington Heights, and Delaware Valley, and both boys and girls. All 3 are undefeated. They'll figure that one out during the dual meet season. And then we're going to get into this. We have the Classics Relay coming up next week, or this weekend, or next weekend, one of the two, in the next couple of weeks, which is always a fantastic event hosted by Scranton Prep and Coach Colin Manley. And then later on down the road in early February, we're going to have the Les Richards Championships, which will be a precursor to, as you mentioned, wrestling is quickly getting to the end of the season, the District 2 Championships. So I was eager to see how all of our swimmers performed up in Tunkhannock High School, and I thought everybody did a great job. Tunkhannock's got quite a program, boys and girls, and had some real good performances as well. And I want to thank Coach Tim Mislevy for getting me, he and Coach Miguel from Elk Lake, getting me the information over the weekend with all the results and the meet records and everything. And that certainly helps us relay this information out to the public and give these kids the credit that they deserve. And another swimmer who had a fantastic week in addition to that invitational performance, Joe, was Roy Ayala. We've talked about him in the past. He's a 4-year swimmer there at West Scranton. He's had quite a career. He trains out of the Pacer Aquatic group at Marywood University. And he set a pool record at the West Scranton Intermediate School during last week's regular dual meet season. And then he had a couple of wins at the Charlotte Invitational. So he's terrific. He's one of those kids we have to keep an eye on at the district championships. Now, he's in a little bit of a precarious position. I don't know what events he's going to swim, but I'm pretty sure one will be the breaststroke, which he's excellent at. And probably he's going to swim the IM. But either way, he's got some tough competition out of District 4 in Williamsport. And that kind of creates a weird situation for him in trying to qualify for states. But he's had a great career. I've enjoyed talking with him. And we have some great meets coming up here in the next couple of weeks with those 3 teams being undefeated. So we'll see how it all plays out. But like you, Joe, it's going to get quite busy here for the high school swimming beat writer who is trying to juggle a couple of sports at the same time.
Yes, exactly, Joby. Exactly. And do I see something as, indoor track, Joby? Is it?
Well, I have to recap what's going on in my other favorite sport, Joe, track and field.
That's right.
Okay, so we've got quite a few kids, and I know I don't want to give away too much here on the podcast, but I want people to read the information for themselves online and in print. But, high school track season is quite a few months away. the outdoor season, which everybody's pretty much more familiar with. But, Joe, our outstanding athletes here in Northeast Pennsylvania in the Lackawanna Track Conference who really don't have anywhere to train for indoor track and field any longer, since Clark Summit University has now since been sold. And they're still doing a great job. And that's one of the things I'll point out when you get a chance to read some of the great accomplishments already here in the first month of the indoor track and field season. And it kind of clicked for me when I went and did a little bit of a spotlight story on the Mid-Valley boys basketball team. It brought me back to my track and field coaching days when I saw the Mid-Valley boys and girls teams doing their indoor workouts in the hallways at Mid-Valley. Yeah. So, and I know a lot of schools do this even in the spring because of the weather. You have to get workouts done, and sometimes it's just too rainy or cold or windy or whatever, and you do your workouts indoors. So it's nice the schools are accommodating for that. But you'll see that a lot of our indoor track and field kids who have put in some time already here in what was late December and now in the middle part of January here, they've done some real nice things.
Absolutely, Joby. And I just want to mention quickly as well, the girls wrestlers have been just really having a phenomenal season, not just in the Lackawanna League, but also in Valley Conference. I think we're seeing this, I could be talking out of my behind, but, I think, since obviously the PIAA sanctioned the sport, we're seeing these girls who have kind of gone through all of high school, and now we're seeing this next wave of younger girls coming up through junior high who have more experience. We've got those talented freshmen, Sydney Schaefer of Lackawanna Trail, Hayden Manning of Abington Heights, and we also have our veterans. Well, Madison Miller's a sophomore. She's already got 50 wins, and she finished second. So not quite veteran, but, definitely acting like it, placing second at the Coal Cracker tournament, which is a fantastic tournament. And speaking of that tournament, Kate Pryor of Delaware Valley, our Times-Tribune Girls Wrestler of the Year last year, won her weight class at the Coal Cracker tournament in dominating fashion. 4 first period pins, and she had a 14-1 major decision over the only girl she's lost to this season, who is ranked second in the state. So that's a statement there. Kate Pryor, I believe, is ranked third in the state at the moment, state bronze medalist last year. So great things to, definitely still great things to come from the girls as we, again, move toward the postseason here.
Another one of my girls' volleyball players there, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all region, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so just a lot of great talent. I can't emphasize enough. Joby, so any thoughts on? I'm just going to ask you. Did you think that was a catch in the Bills game?
Yes. Joe, now you have to remember, I played offense. I played running back in high school, but I also played receiver in college.
Yeah.
And my feeling upon these things, Joe, is quite simple. If you have to break down a video and slow it down to an absolute crawl to determine or make a ruling on the play, I think we have to stop taking these catches away from outstanding athletes. Okay, I'm not saying Brandon Cooks is an amazing receiver, because he did cost the Rams, but he did make an outstanding catch, an athletic play. And I'm not saying the defensive back from Denver didn't make an athletic play,
right?
But the fact is, if that referee had ruled that pass complete initially on the field, which is what it looked like,
right?
Anyway, if he had ruled that, they wouldn't have been able to overturn that either.
True.
So they were kind of stuck in a very precarious position.
Right.
But I get very perturbed when these former officials, some who are in the booth unnecessarily, we don't need that, and others on social media, just like you or I would defend our profession,
Right.
they're going to defend their profession.
Right.
And they're going to try to enlighten fans who are invested in it much more than any official sitting at home or any official in a booth.
Right. Right.
I'm sorry, that play in real time was a catch. He was down,
Right.
and the Denver defensive back ripped the ball from his possession.
Yes. Wholeheartedly agree with you.
So when we start getting, and then you start getting into these personal attacks from officials, and I want to see football for what it is. It's a game played by human beings, Joe. It's not a computer simulation. It's not a video game. And I thought that, and it cost the Bills the game.
Right. Right.
So that's if you're a Bills fan, it's not really great, to have the game come down to that type of decision.
Right. Absolutely. And it's funny because a day later, Devontae Adams has a similar play, and they call it a catch.
Joe, and
it was absolutely a catch.
I was yelling and screaming at the television for that play as well.
Right.
Hoping that they didn't make the same mistake twice.
Exactly. I was so scared. Obviously, everyone here knows that I'm a Packers fan, so I was rooting for wholeheartedly, not just for you, but against the Bears.
Yes.
So I did the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, if they overturn this is ridiculous. So it's just funny that it was a different play, but it was a similar play.
Very similar, Joe. The circumstances the outcomes had the same impact.
Right.
The Rams went on to score on that drive.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah. And I'm so tired of this argument that always comes up when you have these types of situations. Well, Josh Allen had 3 turnovers, and that one play did decide the game.
Right. Right.
And you can never predict what one play could determine the outcome of the game. And that's the thing that often gets lost in these analysis of championship type playoff games. And listen, the Rams have been a victim of it a couple of times themselves throughout the course of history. We all have been there. And I feel bad for the Bills fans, but I just think we've gotten so technologically advanced that we're ruining what is a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And I just hope we can move forward and we don't have any more controversial finishes.
Oh God, I know. Seriously.
The NFL loves it because that's all people talk about.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I just if you're using a replay to get the call right and you're still getting it wrong, can we just get rid of replay? Like we're done.
You're never going to get that.
No, never. I know. It just slows the game, like you said.
I know.
Like
Abington Heights coach Joe Reps just made a great point to me one time. You never go backwards.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. Joby, so what do you think of your team? What do you think of these teams that are left here?
Well, Joe, we've gotten to the end of the hour, so thanks for having me on, and we'll chat after Sunday. How about
that? Joby, that's completely fair. That's completely fair.
That's how I feel about what's coming up.
I like that. Yeah, let's sign off. Yeah, we're at an hour 2 here. You got to get moving because you're covering a game. I just want to quickly thank you and thank Jordan for dealing with my schedule. Last night I saw the UConn Notre Dame women's basketball teams play out in Connecticut, so I couldn't record this podcast. So I again very much appreciate you, Joby, and appreciate Jordan for helping me out and recording this before you guys gotta get to some things. So I thank you. And again, the Times-Tribune.com/sports, Times-Tribune Sports on Instagram and Facebook. Follow us on X at SportsTT for Joby's updates tonight. He's going to have highlight videos. He's going to have a game story. So keep following along and subscribe to this podcast. We have some great conversations with the athletes, and we have a little fun here, as always, Joby. So again, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Joe, have a great week. It's my pleasure. And now that you're tour around